the MPD's 3rd District. You want to come off mute and introduce yourself and tell us how things are going.
Hi, my name is Riley Hong. I'm the Sector 3 captain for the 3rd District. I typically work on the midnight shift. There's typically one captain on each shift, but I cover PSAs 301, 303, 307. And I believe this is my first time with the ANC 1B meeting, so it's nice to meet you all. And I've seen several of the commissioners on the community walk and on scenes, I believe, on some of the scenes that they've come to, and the vigil that we recently had at 14th and V.
Thanks, Captain. I guess at this point we can open it up to questions from the attendees and the panelists. You can either request to be added to the panel so we can have you on video and audio, or if you have questions, you can put them in the Q&A. Please try not to put them in the chat. It's a little bit harder to keep track when we have people asking questions. So please put them in the Q&A. At this point, let's open it up and see, do the commissioners have any questions for Captain Hong? See, we have one from Commissioner Farnan.
Thank you, Commissioner Orlowski, and I think other commissioners feel free to raise your little hands or
question, but I like to.
Yeah, Commissioner Thomas, you can go ahead first if you'd like, and I will follow up after you.
Okay, let's go Commissioner Thomas, then Commissioner Farnan, and Commissioner Floyd, and then we'll get some questions from the attendees. Okay. Remember, put it in your questions in the Q&A.
Amanda, are you okay with me going first? Are you okay?
Yes, please.
Okay. I wanted to make a comment, and the other police officers that was out at the vigil on last Friday, their presence made a huge difference. We're able to talk to some of the officers, myself, to find out, what hours that they're on duty, so that I'll have that face-to-face recognition and who that person is, and also with some of the people that participated in the vigil, they too got an opportunity to speak with an officer or two, and again, that brings, for me, at least they'll know who they can talk to or who they can trust, and the presence was just amazing. So I wanted to acknowledge Captain Hong and his crew, and Amanda and Sable and Anthony Moore. Yeah, made a huge difference, and I wanted to wanted people to know that whatever myths that they have about police officers, some are myths, and it doesn't apply to everyone. Made a huge difference, especially with the officers that came out. So once again, I want to thank you for what it is that you all do, and hope that you all stay safe. I pray for your safety.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. We'll move on to Amanda's question.
Yeah.
Just one thing, we have a bunch of people that have their hands raised, so let's try to keep them not too long so that everybody gets a chance to go.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you, Commissioner Thomas, for those comments. I think it was great to open up with those and so clear in the last couple of weeks how true everything that you just said is. I would love to hear from the captain on just specifically the 3 shootings that we have seen that may be connected, may not be, but specifically the one that happened at 14th and Riggs, right on the line of Ward 1 and 2, and that happened at 14th and W, 14th and V, and then the most recent at 7th and Q, or 7th and O, apologies, 7th and O. If you have updates to all 3 of those and any further information if they are in fact connected.
So I don't have additional information as far as whether they're connected or not at this time. I guess sometimes I like to explain to the public a little bit of the process. So I guess when we don't have updates, it makes a little more sense. So when a shooting results in a death and it's a homicide investigation, the investigators are not at the district level. It's a special homicide unit, and their investigations are pretty sealed. We only get limited information as far as updates because as any open investigations continue going on, they're constantly receiving information from the public through tips, through calls. So we don't want to put too much information out there which could influence or affect somebody's testimony. We want whatever information that our detectives receive through the tip lines to be independent observations without any information that we put out to the public influencing their memory or recall. So for homicide cases, it's very limited information. Oftentimes, I'll just get updates through press releases as well. When it's a shooting investigation with just injuries, it is investigated at the district level. And currently, our cases are open and actively being investigated. So the detectives, a lot of the work initially done is just to make the scene safe, identify any immediate sources of cameras, witnesses, the initial information. And then the real lengthy part afterwards is the investigators going through, checking all the cameras, checking any witness canvases, any additional information coming from tip lines. And based on all the other investigation that they do get, they'll continue investigating it until they come up to closing the case with an arrest or with a warrant. So right now, the only updates I have is that they are being actively investigated as open cases at this time.
Okay, understood. And then I'm just sure that that will be an update that we ask for you maybe weekly, and for the Public Safety Community Engagement Committee, we can talk about later, but that will be a separate form of updates, and I'll make sure to include you on my communication there. And then, sorry, Commissioner, I'll ask you just one last question on the bike police force, if you will, that Chief Conti had announced just last month. Has Ward 1 seen an increase or the 3rd district specifically, an increase in officers on bike? I've seen a few myself, but I just was wondering if you had numbers on that.
Oh yeah, so the community engagement team, I've seen them on several different scenes all throughout the 3rd district. So their deployment generally comes from downtown, but it's in coordination with what events or crimes we have going on. So a lot of it, we're trying to be more fluid in our deployments and based on the current crime trends. So I've seen they've shown up at the vigil that we had at 14th and K. So all the mountain bike officers that arrived there to support us when the group was getting larger was the community engagement. They've been up in the Columbia Heights area. I've seen them just a few minutes ago. I was patrolling on the Segway. I was riding through 14th Street and they were all right there. We had a call for possible assault and they all rode over as well as I did. And they're constantly moving, just hitting all the hot spots that we identify. But right now, with the recent violence on 14th Street, that is one of the areas that they're hitting. And we also have, in reference to the 7th and O shooting, we have a vigil scheduled tonight. So after this meeting, I'm actually gonna head over there to check that out. And the community engagement bike unit will also be heading over there as well. So they're all over the 3rd district, wherever the activity is or where we need them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, trying to do this in the order in which I'm seeing people raise their hand. So
It's
take a-
Commissioner Floyd.
yes, Commissioner Floyd, then we have a member of the audience that has a question, has their hand raised. If anybody else in the attendees has a question, please raise your hand or put your question in the Q&A. Commissioner Floyd.
Thank you. Captain, thank you for your work. The current rash of shootings is certainly alarming. I want to ask you about something that happened 11 months ago at 1315 Clifton, when we had a homicide. And I am looking forward to hearing updates on this.
Sure. So a year ago, I would have to look back at that. I don't have that information offhand, but what I can do is I can look it up, see if there's any update on the status of the case, whether it's closed or still an active case. And I could follow up with an email. I could send it directly to you.
That would be highly appreciated. This has been a point of festering for a long time with no information.
I got you. 1315 Clifton Street Northwest, about 1 year ago. All right.
Commissioner Olaski, we may want to go to commissioners first, and then we can go to the community just because it's a little bit easier transition-wise on Zoom.
To promote people and stuff. Okay, then that would be you. Would be next, Commissioner Harris.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Captain Hogg. I appreciate you being here. Commissioner Farnon did ask my question about kind of an update on 14th and V and, the other nearby shootings to kind of 1B12 on 14th and Riggs. I think we're all very eager to learn more on that and other kind of safety measures. Directly on the community engagement team that you all have out, I have seen officers, I have talked with them as well too. And I'm wondering how many officers are usually on this bike team?
Oh, that information I don't have, but I've seen many officers. I believe it all depends on the different events going on, areas that they're covering. So if they're covering one large event, all of them may be sent to one area, or if there's multiple hotspots to cover, they may be split up into teams. So that's not something I have information on, but
Okay.
I've a lot, yeah.
I am curious too. Can you help me understand why they choose to travel, I guess, in larger groups versus somewhat more dispersed? Because we are seeing a lot more activity happen, whether those are assaults or stabbings or even shootings. But does that happen more frequently, or is it more of the larger group that tends to travel around more?
I think that they work as a team. So every time I've seen them, it's been as a group, as a team. And one thing I could understand about that is a lot of times citizens will comment that they don't see the police officers. And I could understand that because if even when I'm on a Segway, that limits my speed down to maybe 10, 12 miles per hour. And so me with that white shirt on, citizens see me standing up high on the Segway. I'm kind of I stick out. But if an officer in the dark uniform is on a mountain bike and they're going through, especially in the evening and midnight hours, they may be traveling much faster. And so it's understandable that even if the officer is patrolling in the area, if you're a resident and you're looking outside at your street, they might go through the whole block in less than a minute. And unless you catch them in that minute, every time you look out the street, you may not see the officer. But when you have a team like that, and the team allows them to just stop and just talk to people. It becomes more of an event rather than just an officer on patrol. And I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for the community to stop and talk with them as well.
Yeah, I think that is certainly a pro. I think there's obviously some community members with a big group of officers who would feel uncomfortable talking with a large group like that. So I see both angles to it, but I do appreciate kind of the community outreach that I have seen. The reason why I'm asking is because the first time that I saw this community engagement team out, they were at 14th and V talking with the gentlemen who hang out outside, who I frequently talk with every day. I think they were getting to know them, also kind of applying some enforcement measures, which I thought were a little unnecessary. And then I would say maybe 5 hours later, there was a shooting that happened on Wallach Place that was really alarming, and officers responded quickly. But I, was hopeful that a community engagement team and that is more mobile on bikes and a little less intimidating than a patrol car would be able to potentially help deter folks from hanging out in a quieter street and a shooting occurred. So would also love an update if you have any on that shooting, if anyone if any suspects were kind of found. But that is top of mind for me, and hopeful that the officers are able to engage with the community and get to know more people out in the neighborhood.
Okay, yeah, I'll look into the Wallach shooting, see if there's an update, and I'll follow up with you directly. And for the Clifton Street, I'll follow up directly with Commissioner Floyd.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Commissioner Ewart. Let's try to keep these quick, guys. We have at least one person from the attendees that would like to go. We're getting low on time, so let's keep it brief.
I'll be quick. It was my understanding that the role of these community engagement bike-centered police force would be to kind of have a proactive visibility in the crowd, and less of a response team deployed from a central location. Could you just kind of clarify, like, am I misunderstanding like what the purpose of this team is, or what their role is within the broader kind of MPD hierarchy?
Yeah, so from what I've seen from the 3rd District side of it, the community engagement team, they've been very helpful in any kind of events. Like we had National Night Out, we had the vigil on 14th and V. We have a vigil tonight at 7th and O. So primarily when there's any kind of community events or opportunities for officers to engage and just get to know the community, they would be the ideal resource in those situations. Their primary role isn't to respond to calls for service. Our patrol section handles those. However, they are still officers. They're still monitoring. So if a violent crime is happening just down the block, of course, if they hear it, they're gonna go address it, or at least some of them will if they're also handling some other community event. A lot of times, I hear that a lot of the business owners, they want to see the officers more and have a chance to just talk and get to know them. With patrol, the difficult part is they are constantly I guess, directed by the dispatchers to respond to certain different 911 calls based on the priority list, whoever's the closest. And so, when they get a moment in between runs, they might be working on a report, they might be taking a break, getting some food. But the community engagement team, they can fill that and just focus on engaging with the community, talking, taking that time out. And the officers are also doing more of that too now. So we're all kind of going towards the community engagement more, but this is kind of a specific group that we want to kind of use to spearhead and develop that community engagement.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more question from Commissioner Vena, and then we'll take Ms. Bunch's question.
Thanks. I'll be really quick. Just one thing that a few constituents have reached out to me recently was about ATVs. I know that it's a delicate balance of, you can't be chasing these ATVs. We want to keep people safe, but up in my district, it's narrow streets, Girard, Fairmont, Euclid. I know there's an ATV task force. Just when people encounter ATVs, is there, a centralized place they should report that? Is there a way that this task force is engaging with, people other than just, enforcement? I guess a picture of like the overall strategy and what people should do would be helpful.
Sure. The ATV situation, what I would say for the community is if you see them, you can feel free to call 911. And a lot of people sometimes they're like, well, is it an emergency? Is it not? Should I do 311 or 911? I tell people anytime you want police to respond to address something that's going on right now, call 911. The dispatchers, when they get the nature of the call, they'll prioritize it and they'll put it on the list. They'll dispatch it according to what else is going on in the district. So citizens should always call 911, say, hey, there's 20 ATVs here going down 14th and U towards 13th Street. Any information like that. At the same time, citizens can also rest assured that even if we don't get calls, if we see a large group of ATVs, that's usually voiced on the radio by any officer seeing the number of ATVs, the direction of travel, and our primary response is we try to get on the radio to notify our air support unit and intel so that they can start kind of monitoring where they're going, how many there are, and what the ATV task force, I don't work directly with them. So this is my limited understanding, but they're investigators and what they do.
Okay. Great. So sorry, I just don't want to take up more time. If you could follow up maybe with me and connect me to someone on the ATV, just so that way I can knowledgeably respond to people when I'm sure multiple commissioners would appreciate that, to be able to knowledgeably respond to people, because I think that, it's a delicate balance because,
Okay.
I think that, Captain Hong, I think that might be something that we would appreciate, having a representative from that task force maybe come before this group, maybe next month or something. We can set that up, or even if it's the Public Service Community Engagement Committee, both would be ideal, because this is a pretty common complaint that we all hear. So I think that would be very much appreciated. Let's go to Ms. Bunch's question. Commissioner Harris, can you promote?
Yes,
Ms. Bunch?
I am allowing you to talk now. So you should be able to take yourself off of mute.
My total apologies. That was an accidental hand raise, but I would like to thank Civil. My name is Brittany Bunch, and I reached out to her to join the meeting. It is a very nice meeting, and as someone that lives in ANC 1B, it's keeping me informed. So that's my piece. Sorry.
Thank you.
Great. Well, glad to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Do we have anybody from the attendees that have a question? We have 2 more minutes before our official session starts. So if you have a question, please feel free to either put it in the Q&A or raise your hand and we can promote you so you can ask the question. Not seeing anybody, so
You have a few commissioners that I see. If Commissioner Thomas has one more question, and then maybe.
okay, we do have
Commissioner
two more.
Floyd, we could-
Okay, great.
Yeah, real quickly, I wanted to ask Commander Hong, is there some way, or do you feel it'll be efficient when you were talking about people can call, first of all, could call when they see SUVs? I know they shouldn't be calling 911. Is it a 311 call? So who are they calling? I mean, which number are they calling for the ATVs? And is there some way that we can find out as a commission, I guess, who's on shift at particular times throughout the day? I'm talking about like the lieutenants. I know there's one that's usually around in the 14th Street area, MV, like late at night. I've met him on several occasions, but when things are happening for in the community for ANCs as well as our community members, how do you get information to you guys? And what's the best way of doing that?
Sure. So there's the two questions, one about ATVs, one about lieutenants that are working the shift. So we have, I would recommend 911 for all police responses that you want. If it's a call about something going on right now or something that you see that you would like the police to look into right now, I would say just keep it simple. Call 911 and let the dispatchers take all the information and they will put it in their priority order. Now, one thing I will say is sometimes we get ATVs or noise complaints about engines revving or loud music being blasted by motorcycles. The dispatchers, if it's a busy Friday night or Saturday night, they might have multiple fights going on and different priorities. It's possible that they may not even dispatch things like the noise complaints, parking complaints, until all those priorities are handled and units are freed up. So that's just one thing I wanted to share because I know once in the past, a member said that no one responded. And when we looked, it looked like the dispatchers didn't assign it until later on. For finding out who's on shifts, on the website, mpdc.dc.gov, every district, it says your district. If you click on the 3rd district, it should have a roster of all the officials and it shows who's working which. All the lieutenants and captains take turns being the watch commander. So if a commissioner wanted to see who was working as the watch commander, you could call the station at the 3rd district, and they should be able to provide you the name of the on-duty watch commander for that shift.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we do have.
Helpful for the community to know exactly what the process is, because sometimes they, believe it or not, we get calls late at night that something's going on and we're not the police, but it'll be helpful for the community to know the process in terms of who to call when there are issues. So thanks again.
Okay, we have one last question from Commissioner Floyd, and then we'll have to get started with our official session a couple minutes over. So let's.
Thank you. I noticed with interest that one of the lookout cars from the recent shooting involved temporary license plates. At 14th and Clifton, we have had a rash of temporary license plates from out of state, and multiple of them have been expired temporary license plates. I have reported them to 311. It's somewhat alarming that they still sit there. It's equally alarming that 311 responds by saying we don't issue parking tickets on Sundays. It's disturbing to learn that this rash of temporary licenses are involved in shootings.
Yeah. So one of the things not specifically due to the shootings, but because of we've had a lot of stolen autos, a lot of jump-ins when people just leave their car running to go pick up food or make a delivery. We've had a lot of those stolen autos. So one of the things that our officers have been trying to do is in their areas of focus, if there's any cars with temporary tags, any car that looks like it might have been recently involved in a hit and run or anything suspicious, they'll run the tag just to make sure that it's not being reported as stolen. So that's one of the things. If you have any vehicle that for some reason you believe is suspicious beyond just having expired tags, you're welcome to call 911. Again, I'll just say you can call 911 and let the dispatchers prioritize it and give it to the officers. One thing about the expired tags is since the COVID restrictions and all the DMVs in the different states having limited services, a limited ability to renew those plates, there's been more of I guess, a period where even if the tags are expired, we're not issuing tickets on those because it's oftentimes not the fault of the owner, but just due to the circumstances of COVID and DMV's hours. So we're, trying to work with everyone as well. But as things are going back to full service, those are going to be going back to full enforcement.
Thank you, Captain Hong. That's the end of our public session for this month. I'd like to thank you for coming and answering all our questions, and we very much appreciate it. With that, we're going to go ahead and call the official session to order. My name is Dan Orlaskin, Vice Chair of ANC 1B. Commissioner Turner, who was our chair, was not able to be here tonight, so I'm going to be doing the officiating for the evening. So I will call the meeting to order. Will Commissioner Harris, our secretary, go ahead and call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Handerhan,
Present.
Commissioner Orlasky,
Present.
Commissioner Umar,
Present.
Commissioner Thomas,
Present.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Present.
Commissioner Floyd,
Present.
Commissioner Ewart,
Present.
Commissioner Bana,
Present.
Commissioner Turner, Commissioner Delaney,
Present.
Commissioner Farnan,
Present.
Commissioner Harris, present. It's a quorum of 11 of 12.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, we have an agenda before you, including a consent agenda. Would anyone like to move that we approve the agenda for this meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. That's, I believe that's 11 of 11. So the motion passes and the agenda is accepted. Okay, so from there, I guess we'll start to go through the reports and action items. I believe Commissioner Sanchez has an update on our second quarter 2021 financial report.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Orlasky, we do have to approve and vote on the consent agenda.
That's what we did. We just did that,
Good.
both of them together.
That was, we did both of them?
Yeah,
Oh,
we can do them
sorry,
together
my
or
bad.
separately. It's the same thing. So where's Commissioner? There you are. Commissioner Sanchez, if you want to go ahead.
Okay, so just on financial stuff first, before we go over the second quarter financial report, because this is my first time digging into the treasury stuff, we actually have two previous quarterly financial reports that we have to amend because we received an allotment that was not reported. So I just have to report it. We don't have to approve these again, but just to note in the fiscal year 20 quarter 4 report, we received an allotment of $15,838.30 that wasn't included. So the ending, I only have to report the ending balance of that, which is the new balance once that allotment is recorded. And that is now $150,669.39 for quarter 4. And then because that was in the 4th quarter rolling into the 1st quarter of 2021, we also have to adjust the ending balance of that. So that brought our ending balance for quarter 1 to $157,088.54. So those are those two items that have now been reported. Moving on to the 2nd quarter financial report. So I just reported the beginning balance. We had total disbursements in that quarter of $3,316.45, which brought our ending balance to $153,772.09. So we'll be submitting that, and then in the next meeting, we'll be looking at the quarter 3 report and also the upcoming budget for next year. And that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sanchez. Those of you who don't know, Commissioner Sanchez is our treasurer. I should have mentioned that before. We also, actually, Commissioner Sanchez, you have an update for us on the Ward 1 ANC Joint Committee on Education.
Yes. So our last meeting was very low key as we're wrapping up kind of from summer and going into the next year. I was not able to attend, but I understand they discussed the 2021 roadmap, which I'm happy to share with people, but as I've covered before, it's kind of the vision statement. They're still doing work on trying to get cross-commission participation for a beginning of school year kickoff in September for their meeting. I believe they're going to be taking August off. So if there are people across, certainly across Ward 1, but others outside of it too, we'll be looking for extra participation for the Ed Committee. So feel free to reach out if I can connect you into that. And that's all from me.
Thank you very much. Do we have an update on the short-term family housing, the Terrell, from Commissioner Floyd?
No report.
Okay, thank you.
I
want to give some
quick really
Commissioner,
quick,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I've been periodically, my mom recently retired as a DCPS teacher, and I've been periodically donating books, kind of early elementary school range books to the Terrell that she no longer needs. And when I went there last week, they just mentioned that if there are any parents whose children have aged out of certain books or aged out of certain toys, they're always accepting donations. I can put a contact information in the chat for folks who are interested in making a donation of any sort. I know that they would really appreciate it. So just wanted to let folks know that.
Thank you, Commissioner Ewart. Appreciate it. Commissioner Turner had asked me to make sure to give some time for Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Omar to make announcements. Commissioner Thomas, did you have an announcement you wanted to make about public safety? Or was that something that you'd already done?
I believe Chair Turner wanted Commissioner Thomas to talk about her experience in the neighborhood and the vigil that happened, and just, the wonderful message that she shares. So sorry.
Okay, so the remarks, I completely forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. For the neighbors who has had a scare down in the area at 14th and Riggs, and then listening to the commander, what I needed to say is that the two neighborhoods are connected. I'm talking about 14th and V and 14th and Riggs. from our street to Riggs. That was, I wouldn't say a rare situation, and I don't want to minimize it. But that particular stretch of 14th Street is usually not subject to something of that nature. So I understand neighbors and customers are up in arms and afraid and wants to know what's going on. So I just wanted to put that out there, that that's not something to happen on a regular basis, especially in that stretch of 14th Street. I personally think that it's one of the most safest stretches of 14th that it is. The other thing is that they're having a funeral for a young man. It will be a private funeral, so we don't have to fear, nor the family, of any retaliation or anything of that nature. Our Brianne, Councilmember Brianne, gave a public safety meeting on last, forgive me if I forgot the date, but Sable or Amanda, you all can help me out with the date. There were quite a few organizations there that's actually doing some things in the community with some of the neighborhoods where most of either gun violence or crime of that nature is. They actually come out and work with particular groups if they know what's going on. And so I was able to get, after the meeting, met with a couple of them, and they were willing to come down and work with some of the young folks who's down here. We're looking at not only here, but then our street as well, because groups would be biased. You know what I'm saying? So trying to bring the two groups together, the organizations step in and they start working with or whatever. So we're hoping from that this thing simmers down, and this would be the end of that particular issue. Now, I don't know about 7th and O, so I can't speak on that, but Riggs and 14th and V, yes, I do have interactions with 14th and Clifton as well. We're also looking at working with the folks up on that end, and so that at least a stretch of our neighborhood, we have something going on. We have organizations that's willing to step in and do what they're doing. So I just wanted to, make sure that the community knew what was going on and what we're trying to work on to reduce the crime, and hope that it works.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Umar, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
What I wanted to mention is more so similar to what Ms. Thomas, Commissioner Ms. Thomas was saying, programs. As you know, our basement will be, we building out our basement in Garfield Terrace, which will be called My Seniors Transforming Land and Life's Lab. And so far we have what we putting together a 3D lab. We have a 3D printer down there already. We also have putting together a podcast and a music studio. We already have some of that equipment. The music where we'll be doing positive music, talk about real life stuff. And also the podcast will be for these youths and seniors to start reuniting and talking about issues that's really going on and events that we could be doing, opening up more rec centers and stuff like that. Stuff like what I grew up on in these neighborhoods that's not happening, because we traumatized. But to go on, we also have a heat press room where we'll be printing t-shirts. If you know anybody that needs some t-shirts, we'll be, we have a business where we'll be doing that. We'll be doing those for the low, t-shirts, hats, mugs. We also have a community room down there where we'll be doing with computer lab. We have a computer lab. We're also setting up where we'll have an embroidery shop down there. So we'll be doing embroidery. And where we start doing games and stuff up here with the seniors, bingo nights and stuff like that. But more so, we want to more so transform land and lives with these youths. We want to sit down and be able to start talking to them, getting in their head and understanding what they're going through, teaching them how to get old. Nobody's teaching them that. I'm not a returning citizen. I'm a person from incarceration because nobody taught me or helped me to be a returning citizen. I did that on my own. So this is what we want to start teaching a lot of these youth before they even get to that point, because nobody's teaching them that. Nobody's teaching them drop that hammer and pick up a real one. Like me, bust your fingers open, do that, do something for real. And this is what they need to start knowing. This is what they need to start actually hearing it from someone that been there and done that and can explain it to you from both sides of the street. From being on that side of the street to the Creator blessing me to be among a unique people like yourselves. And when these youths and older people realize a position that I hold, thanks to you all and you all listening, this is what people need to hear, not just, stop the violence, not, this, no. We have something for you. Come sit down and let me hear your thoughts and let me show you what we can do. And if it's not here, let me hear your opinion why it should be here or not here or in your neighborhood. I mean, this is something that the mayor and everybody actually need to hear, because we could talk about stopping violence, but what do you have for anybody? With programs, we got to be able to explain that to them when they say, okay, you want me to stop shooting, you want this to stop happening, but what do you have for me? I was them. And if you don't have nothing for them, you continue to get this. At least you can save some with not what I'm presenting or what I'm saying. It could be something else, but we just have to put something out there for people to grab onto. Even if it come to agriculture, carpentry, bricklaying, I can show people that. But the thing is, we have to get it out there to them. This is something that, we need to be talking to the mayor about, violent prevention programs. This is a start right here with us in Ward 1B. But that's, some of the things that I have to often, anything else that you all want to, help us do and we do it together, it's fine with me, but we have ideas and events for them to want to start doing. Drop them hammers and pick up a real one. Go do some gardening. You want to do podcasts? You want to sing? Do you want to, go in a computer lab? Do you want to print t-shirts? Do you want to own your own business? But first and foremost, are you traumatized? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah. And Commissioner Umar, I just want to say thank you for the updates. And second, I know that we are working on bringing more of the ANC 1B larger community to specifically Garfield Terrace. I think that it'd be great to do a tour of when this basement is done, but also I know many of us are very fond of your rooftop garden, so we look forward to future visits there as well. I see Commissioner Ewert has his hand up, but I will also be doing the public safety community engagement updates next and can tie that back in with what both commissioners have just said.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Umar and Commissioner Farnan. All I can add to that is that, first of all, it's a very powerful, very important message, and I think we all appreciate how much effort Commissioner Umar puts into what he does. And I encourage anyone who's interested in finding out more to reach out to really anybody on this ANC or Commissioner Umar specifically to get more information and how you can help or how you can participate. And thank you so much for taking the time. We all really appreciate your message. We're all very much on board. With that, let's move it along to, Commissioner Ewert, did you have a question before we move on?
Nothing that I can't just follow up with Commissioner Umar with on my own. Just wanted to look into like when the anticipated date for that to open is. I'm really looking forward to getting folks in there and getting to
Yeah, I
work,
definitely think that's something
making
we
our
should
community safer.
advertise
Yeah.
on the ANC 1B website and through our message boards and all that. So yeah, so if Commissioner Umar can let us all know, we'll make sure that information gets out.
Awesome.
Great. Okay, so let's move on to our updates from our Public Safety and Community Engagement Committee. That's Commissioner Farnham.
Thank you. Perfect. So we are in the, if everyone's reading the agenda, for those in the attendees, the link to the agenda is in the chat. There's just some detailed information on our next meeting, which will be September 9th at 6 p.m. We'll do this as an in-person outdoor meeting at the Banneker track, trying to kind of have an open space where people feel they can have as much time as they need to ask questions. The Collaborative Solutions for Communities Violence Interrupter program will be there. I'm in touch with who will be there, but representatives from their team will be in that community space, which I feel they were at the public safety meeting that was hosted by Councilmember Nadeau that Commissioner Thomas spoke about. And it was just invaluable to hear their experience and also kind of learn what a violence interrupter really does. MPD will also be there in hopes of kind of merging our conversations that we have with both groups. So that's just something to note. Further, for the Public Safety Community Engagement Committee, we are hoping to establish specific committee members. In the past, we have perhaps been more focused on the community engagement aspect, which has been great, and we've been able to push through sponsorships and event appearances through that. However, I'd love to have folks who are in the audience right now reach out to me, 1b11@anc.dc.gov, and express your interest in becoming a member. Thinking this is, we won't have monthly meetings like other committees need because, you have specific timelines that you have to follow for DC agencies. For us, I'm thinking we'll have quarterly meetings where folks would be able to bring their ideas and perhaps bring their thoughts on what sponsorships the ANC should be focused on, as well as the conversation around public safety. So those are just two things that I'm hoping to do at the September meeting, but then also establish our membership. So please reach out to me if you're interested. Further, just going through those updates here, I just have 3 bullets. Update from Councilmember Nadeau's Public Safety Town Hall. I put a link to the recording in the chat for everyone to view. It is a bit lengthy, but it goes into some detail from DC agencies on what funding is going where. So you can learn specifically about some proactive preventative measures like our Pathways program from the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, our Cure the Streets program with the Office of the Attorney General. Both folks who lead that work were present at that meeting that Councilmember Nadeau hosted. So you can really hear from folks who are doing the work rather than through us who are secondhand information sharers, if you will. So that is a great thing that I would encourage you to check out. An update just from our sponsored events. So the first, the Long Live Go-Go event back in June was at the Juneteenth event on 14th and U. It was a huge success. We, of course, had our ANC 1B name out there, just supporting their work. But I think more importantly, we had different types of communities coming together at that intersection that I know we've talked a lot about with the Reeve Center, but specifically just highlighting the cultural importance of that area as well. And then another thing in September, on September 18th, will be the Hoops for All basketball tournament called Hoops for Hope. So they also will have a focus on health where the money raised goes to cervical cancer study and research and screening. So great opportunity to get the family out and do something in early September, but also an opportunity to have a back to school drive that they'll be organizing, and then further health checkups and things like that. They'll also have COVID-19 testing. So just anything that's timely will happen on September 18th, and that is at the Banneker basketball courts. They will also be refurbishing the courts, but just an update that I received from their executive director last week is that the court refurbishing timeline has just been pushed back a little because of weather changes, a little unpredictable this year. So they are hoping that a longer timeline for more stable weather will happen in spring, and that is when they'll refurbish and then repave the courts. So then next September, when we have this tournament again, we will have a fully new court. And I know that Gigi is on from U Street Main Streets. She'll give an update during economic development, but I just felt a need to shout her out right now. So finally, just would love to see you out September 9th, 6 p.m. at Banneker Track. Yes, Commissioner Harris and Banna. Maybe Harris, then Banna. Thank you.
Quickly, since you mentioned at the Hoops for Hope event about COVID testing. So, we are still in a pandemic. Unfortunately, there are new mask mandates for indoors. Obviously something we don't necessarily want to get back to, but we want to keep everyone safe. So if you haven't been vaccinated, please go to I believe it's vaccinate.dc.gov, or you can go to vaccines.gov and find the nearest location to get vaccinated. The other thing to note too is that even if you are vaccinated, you still can get COVID. The chances are lower, obviously, and I'm not a health official. I am just kind of communicating what I know, but DC has opened up specifically with the public libraries that you can pick up at-home testing kits completely free. And then you can also drop off those kits in a drop-off location right outside the library. So I'll post a link to that. But I highly encourage everyone, if you need a test, to get a test, even if you think you might be sick or you've been exposed in any way. This is a super easy way to test yourself and for free, and to get it out and to have peace of mind.
Thanks, Commissioner Harris. I just wanted to add, Commissioner Farnan had mentioned basketball, and I wanted to just highlight in my area, my district, the 14th and Girard Park. There have been a great group of community members who have come together and helped lead refurbishing that basketball court and even repainting it, paying for some of the funds out of their own pocket, and putting together some basketball tournaments there on weekends. So really just want to highlight that great work that neighbors are doing there, and encourage folks to get out there and meet your neighbors at the Girard 14th Park on Saturdays.
All right, thank you, commissioners. That's it for the public safety and community engagement. We will go on to our next committee. That would be zoning, normally would be zoning, preservation and development, but they did not have a meeting in July. Their next meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 16th at 6:30 p.m. With that, we'll move on to economic development. Commissioner Handerhan.
Sure. Thanks so much, Commissioner Orlowski. Won't have a ton on our dinner tonight, but do want to acknowledge Gigi from U Street Main Street to offer an update.
Oh, wow. Sorry, I did not expect that. Yes. So hello, everyone. I am so sorry I have not had a chance to meet with all of you guys because COVID, but also just like being busy schedules. But so to try to put a good positive swing, is dog days. It's this weekend. So you don't have to have a dog. If you do, please bring them out. But like, let's go and support local businesses. It's awesome. It's U Street Main Street and also Logan Circle Main Street. So we're combining forces to be phenomenal. And I think it'll be awesome. So the way in which it works for nightlife is that, you know what, you're not going to be able to do shopping. However, you can have late cocktails. You can have, I'm going to go shopping and then I'm going to go have happy hour. So it's all fun. It's necessary. I think everyone has been like pinned down, and some of the tragedies that we've seen between Logan Circle and also U Street, like let's bring our community back. Like, I know that you guys' work is to make sure that things don't happen, but like, let's proactively find a good way to push forward. So you guys, please push out there. Businesses, you name it, you guys go out and support all your local businesses. And also, I will say, I'm still trying to gather some additional people for my council. And I feel like for people that your constituents that always say that, like, I don't hear this, or my voice is not being heard, let them join the NSC. That would be like a great way for them to say, I'm contributing, I'm being heard. And yeah, So I hope I get to see at least one of you guys or two of you. I finally met Amanda and both and Sable, so hopefully I'll meet one of you guys
in person.
Yeah,
And
yes.
Gigi, could you just share for attendees what streets like should they kind of look out for besides obviously U Street on Saturday and Sunday?
It's pretty much basically so anything. So if you're doing 14th Street, it's anything from Busboys all the way down to Logan Circle. And then of course, you know, I'm gonna be selfish. U Street is going to be from 13th from we actually have businesses that's even outside of my main street, Bonobos. So it's from 9th and U Street all the way down to 17th. So reach out, have a cocktail, buy a t-shirt and like sip on water and whatever your spirit makes you feel better. So if you guys have questions, let me know. Any questions? No?
None for me. Just so thankful that you're here to join us and promote all that great work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. And you guys go be awesome.
Thank you for your great work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't see any other Main Street folks on the line, but if you can drop a note in the chat, we'll make sure you get a chance to promote any of the work that you're on. That you're working on. I do want to thank the team at John Main Street for the night out work that went into the event last week. It was I was not able to attend. I was out of town, but heard really good things about that event. When it comes to the Economic Development Committee business, we did not meet in July after wrapping up this phase of the Reeve Center work. The Commission overall voted on a proposal that went to DemPed in our July meeting. This is an ad hoc committee in the sense that it convenes when there is a public disposition of property in 1B, but I think there's interest in figuring out if there's opportunities to be involved in some of the broader conversations around economic development in the neighborhood and the city. So we will be convening in early fall to talk about that and other opportunities that might be separate from any individual development project. So please stay tuned for the 1B website for our future meeting. It is likely to happen in October. And nothing else from me. So back to you, Dan.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Handerhan. Next, we have the Transportation Committee, Commissioner Ewert.
Thank you, Commissioner Orlowski. We had one thing that we needed to vote on. We had a discussion about the BZA case that's going forward for 1801 9th Street. This is popularly known as the Checkers Club location that's being redeveloped into a series of condominiums. The applicant was proposing to they're renovating the units into condos, but as part of that proposal, they are going to be applying for an encroachment into the right-of-way. There is about 24 feet of space that exists between the building face and the curb line, and they'll be encroaching 12 feet into that, which would be consistent with other pretty much all of the properties in the neighborhood. They encroach similarly into the right-of-way there. The Transportation Committee had a lively discussion about it and voted in favor of the BZA recommendation, 3-2. Commissioner Orlowski, this is in your district. If you want to make a motion to recommend approval, go for
it. Yeah, I think I agree with everything Commissioner Ewert said. The amount of space is not significant to the point where it would disrupt sidewalk traffic or any other uses for sidewalks. I think we spoke earlier, we talked about tree boxes and that sort of thing. There's still plenty of room for all those things. So I am going to move that we support the Transportation Committee's vote to support the BZA application 20527 for the encroachment on 18th and S Street.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, seconded. All in favor? Awesome. Approved unanimously. Thanks, everyone. The other update I have
Can
is,
I'm sorry,
oh.
can I mention one thing on this, just as a point of clarity, just in case there's
Mhm.
anyone from the community who is wondering why transportation is reviewing a BZA case. So this has already gone to ZPD, and Patrick Nelson, the chair of ZPD, made the recommendation that they do approach the transportation committee about kind of this encroachment. So that is why you are seeing a BZA case. It has been in front of ZPD. So if there's any further questions about that, you can reach out to me, or you can reach out to our committee chair, Patrick Nelson, and I can put the emails in the chat for that. But just wanted to add that point.
Yeah, thanks so much for clarifying that. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
you can also reach out to me too. I'm very familiar with the project.
One other thing, just wanted to give an update for next transportation committee meeting. We're going to be discussing a TSA request, a traffic safety assessment request, at the intersection of 9th Street, V Street Northwest, and Florida Avenue Northwest. This is the intersection right near the 930 Club and the Nipsey Hussle mural at the gas station there. If anyone's familiar with it, they know that it sucks. And we're gonna do our best to make it a little bit safer. So if you want to come and if you have a really good idea of what you want that intersection to look like, we definitely encourage you to come to our next transportation committee meeting, which is going to be next Wednesday, August 11th at 7 p.m. And we'll have an agenda ready shortly. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Commissioner Ewert. I believe our next committee is the Alcohol Beverage Regulation Committee, and that is Commissioner Boehner.
Hi, everyone. ABR committee has been very busy as DC has relaxed some of its restrictions over the past several weeks. And although some of them are coming back, there's been a lot of turnover in bar and restaurant spaces, and there's a lot of new applications for liquor licenses before our committee. So the first thing before us that needs committee or full ANC attention is a settlement agreement with Best Way Liquors, which is on 14th Street. Sable, do you want to speak on that before we take a vote?
Yeah, Best Way has been in the neighborhood for a while. I think there has been some concerns about the loitering in front of Best Way and potentially the folks that they do serve. I think, for the most part, Best Way does want to work with the community. And the other thing to note, DC doesn't have any anti-loitering laws. So it does put the business in a difficult place if the community does request that people who are just hanging out outside to be removed. I think that's potentially someone's perspective and may not always be an accurate assessment of what's happening, but was very pleased with the engagement with Best Way. So we do have a settlement agreement in place, as where previously there wasn't one. And as you all know, I am trying to set a better foundation and create settlement agreements with the new establishments that are opening and the ones that have been on the block for a while, just to continue that community engagement.
Great. So then, Sable, would you like to make a motion to approve the settlement agreement with Best Way Liquors?
Sure. I move that the full ANC support and approve the settlement agreement with Best Way Liquors.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I'm going to say 2 abstentions. and 9 in favor and 0 opposed. So the settlement agreement is approved. Thank you, and kudos to you, Commissioner Harris, for doing that engagement and working with the business owner. Oh, yes.
Can I, what was the second abstention? I
Um,
only,
Commissioner Thomas is not on screen, so I interpreted that as an abstention.
okay. I'm wondering if that would just be a not present versus.
Okay, we can make sure that's reflected in the minutes correctly. Next up on the agenda, we have 2 establishments in 1B12, Commissioner Harris's district again. Essentially, we heard at our last July meeting, we heard presentations from both these businesses. They are owned by the same person. There was a lot of questions from the committee, a lot of questions from the community. We've gotten more questions via email. So based on the timing of this one, we don't have another full ANC meeting before the protest deadline is due. So we need to kind of preserve our standing as the ANC, given how much community feedback we've gotten from this. So we are going to do protest votes. So Sable, do you have anything else you'd like to add on that?
Yeah, I think these are new establishments, although some of the spaces that they are occupying were former kind of bars or clubs. Elements is going into the former Republic Garden space. So obviously that has been vacant for some time. So I don't know if you could consider that going into a kind of more recent kind of establishment. The Alchemist, though, is going into the former Codmother space. So that was occupied for some time. And unfortunately, they had to close, but someone new is coming in. And I would also like to note, just for the community, I know the word protest sometimes gets a little mixed up, and people sometimes think this is a way to close an establishment or prevent an establishment from coming. That is not the case. It is more so of a formality to, like Commissioner Bena said, to keep our standing. And something that I mentioned earlier is I really would like to create a settlement agreement. So it does foster kind of better communication and community engagement overall. So that is what I am trying to do here. And I do believe it's the same owner and attorney representing both. And I do believe they do want to work with the community and establish a settlement agreement. Commissioner Farnan, did you have a question?
Yes, just a question on the note in the agenda. Why were no votes taken at the committee meeting?
So for the majority of the establishments that we heard from in the committee meeting, the protest deadline was not until September. So we had an additional ABR committee meeting and the full ANC to be able to take votes. It was my fault as chair. I did not flag that these 2 had an earlier date. So we could have taken.
No problem.
Yeah.
Just was wondering, but thank you for that explanation. That sounds good.
Unfortunately, there's not necessarily a regular dispersal of these from Abra, so sometimes our dates get off, but yes.
Great.
Or there's just a lot that come into 1B12, which
that is
makes
also
it hard.
Every time I open an email, I'm like, ooh, could be me. Nope, Sable.
It's either you or me. Every single time.
So, Sable, would you like to make a motion? Why don't we start with elements?
Sure. I move that the full ANC protest Elements DC on grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Do I have a second? Second, great. All those in favor, raise your hand. All those opposed? Abstentions? Great. So it passes with 10 in favor and 1 abstention. Next, we need to do the Alchemist.
I move that the full ANC protest the Alchemist on grounds of peace, order, and quiet.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, and abstentions? Great. So that passes with 9 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 abstention. Thank you all for those votes. I would also just like to note again that we did meet on July 21st. We heard from a lot of establishments. There were 5 establishments that we heard from. Each of them gave 5-minute presentations. We had over 7 minutes of questions from the committee and from community members. They're listed here on the agenda. Like I mentioned, the 3 at the top of that list on the agenda, Barcata, Mi Vida, and Slice and Pie, their placard is dated in such a way that we can have further discussion on these 3 at our August 18th ABR committee meeting, and then approve any sort of protest or stipulated license or take any action we need to at the September full ANC meeting. So just want folks to know that. And so if you are in the community and you feel passionate about Barcata or Mi Vida or Slice and Pie, you can come to the August 18th meeting. Also, I know that some of them are already speaking with their commissioners of record about settlement agreements at this time. So the last thing that I will note is if you've been to our ABR committee meetings, we've had a perennial discussion about the arts overlay, which is a zoning code that impacts the percentage of first floor frontage space that can be on certain blocks that can be devoted to bars and restaurants. It's caused a bit of confusion in the community because it's not really transparent how that information is calculated and kept track of. And so after a lot of discussions, we did send a letter as the committee to the Office of the Zoning Administrator, Matt Grant. We copied a few council members who were relevant. So we put a request for a September 1st response. So maybe on the next ABR committee meeting, we will have an update. But I just wanted to flag that because I know that there's been a lot of interest in the community on that. Commissioner Harris, did you have a question?
Yes. For the last vote on the protest, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bena, I frequently get tripped up on the counts. I just wanted to confirm, did you say it was 9 in favor, 1 abstention, and 1 opposed?
Correct. Commissioner Floyd was the abstention and Commissioner Umar was the opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
And then one last thing to note, I do know that there are some community members here specifically kind of on the concerns with the substantial change for Barcata wine. And I wanted to, let them know and anyone else in the community know that, we are trying to set up some sort of kind of part 2 to the ABR committee meeting on kind of meeting with the owners of Barcata, hearing about their plans for the outdoor entertainment that they are seeking. And I'm working with Commissioner Orlowski on this. But if there's any other further questions or concerns, this is border of my district and Commissioner Orlowski's. It's right on the line. Barcata is in Commissioner Orlowski's. On the other side is 1B12. But if there's any questions for nearby neighbors that they have, please reach out, and we will also share with the community when we do have that kind of meeting.
Just want to add a little bit of context. what we heard from Barcata about what their substantial change would entail, I think that it was clear that myself and Commissioner Harris and other people that were on the committee that were there were somewhat uncomfortable with some of their proposal, which was to hold outdoor events in front of their establishment, which is a very small amount of space. And it's right next to, actually right underneath the condo building and right across the street and adjacent to other residential housing. We did give them the opportunity to make an argument or show us how they would be able to mitigate noise and disruption. I haven't heard anything from them yet. I imagine we'll have until the ABR meeting, which is in August, so middle of August. So if we don't hear anything by then, we'll probably go ahead with the protest. That's what I am planning at this point. So thank you, and we'll move it back to
Thank you.
Commissioner Dana to finish up.
Commissioner Umar, Bo, did you have a question?
You said I opposed? You said I opposed?
Yes, did I interpret that wrong? I thought you raised your hand when for opposed. Was that incorrect?
No, I didn't get a chance to put my hand down. I was going in the building. I wasn't against it.
Okay, got it. We'll correct that, Sable.
Yeah.
So both of those final two protest votes were 10 in favor, 1 abstention. Thank you. I will wrap up by again reminding people that the next ABR committee meeting is Wednesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Please come. It's a small but dedicated few in the audience every week, so the more the merrier. And I will flag there have been 3 ABRA applications that have come before us in the past week or so that will be on that that we will discuss or have representatives from on the 18th meeting. So that's House Bar, which is a application for a new liquor store in 1B11, Commissioner Farnan's district. Medusa Lounge, which is a application for a new Class C tavern license in 1B03, which is Commissioner Umar's district. And We the Pizza Express, which is a fast casual restaurant applying for a restaurant alcohol license, which is in 1B12, Commissioner Harris's district. So that's the preview for August 18th, and we'll make sure to stick that in the newsletter as well so that people see that. That's all I got.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Dana. That concludes our updates from our committees. We'll move on to administrative issues. Before we do that, I have the unfortunate task of informing everyone that one of our esteemed colleagues is going to be stepping down as of September 1st, Commissioner Danny Delaney. Just on a personal note, Danny and I started doing this together back in 2018, 2019. And Danny volunteered at that time to do what I think is the hardest job on this ANC, which is being the secretary. He did that without having any idea what he was doing, what it meant. No offense, so you did a great job is what I'm trying to say. And he took it upon himself to take on an extremely difficult role and did an amazing job at it, while also being just a fierce advocate for his neighborhood and for 1B as a whole. His accomplishments are too many to list here, but losing Danny is going to be that's going to be all big shoes to fill, and definitely going to be someone that we all will miss dearly. So Danny, if you have anything you'd like to say, please go ahead.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Dan. Thanks a lot. Yeah, not too much. I just really appreciate what everybody on this commission has done for their communities, and also what a lot of the folks who are participating in the call who aren't on the panel right now. doing for their communities. I think a lot of the work that happens in our community doesn't show up on the screen. So I've been personally inspired by all the people that step up and spend time giving back to their communities. A lot of people do it without any thanks or recognition. So I appreciate everything that those people have done in addition to the folks on the screen. So thanks everybody for y'all's time, and I'll see you guys around DC.
Commissioner Farnan, do you have something you want to add?
Yes, sorry. I know that folks will probably say some things about you, Commissioner Delaney, but I did want to just say for the record and for the recording here that I will personally miss you so much. I know when I came on as just our good old admin consultant in 2019, which feels like 8 years ago, but also feels like yesterday. We were meeting up weekly at the Union Kitchen down on 8th Street, and Danny and I would just go through talking about our website redesign, what I could do for the ANC, and all he was doing. And it was no small feat, and nothing to say that we didn't have our plates full. So I feel like we've come and grown together. So it's great to be, of course, on this call with you as now commissioner, and I'm sure we'll stay in close touch in DC. So thank you.
Yeah, we hope you come back and visit us, Danny.
Can't get rid of us.
I get to be the guy making community announcements.
When we finally get to do things together, we'll make sure you get invited to the social events because you missed out on all the ones all of us did. You deserve to be there.
Thanks.
Does anybody else have anything they want to say before we? Okay, so I'm going to kick it to Commissioner Harris to talk about the community feedback we're seeking for hybrid meetings, and also that ANC 1B is hiring. And we'll let her go ahead and talk about that. I should mention at this point that there will be an opening, and we'll have more information on how that process goes probably at our next meeting. So Commissioner Harris, whenever.
Sure. So for hybrid meetings, it'll be interesting to see how the next few months go. As we know, there is the reinstated mask mandate for indoors. Let's all hope it doesn't get any further than that. But we do want to collect feedback from the community on what you all would like to see for hybrid meetings and kind of that schedule. I think virtual meetings, we see a higher level of engagement, but we also know not everyone has access to devices to connect, to log on to Zoom. So we want to make that as inclusive and equitable as possible. We also want to be aware that if we, I think a lot of us do enjoy the in-person interactions. So if we do move back in person, how do we make sure we marry the side of, the virtual format that someone can attend? How do we look at the times that we're hosting meetings? So, the person who may be working at that time could attend. Maybe we host it a little bit later or we host it earlier. Ultimately, we want your feedback. So we will be sharing out a survey on our newsletter, on our website. It will be a very quick survey. I promise not to have a 10-minute survey for you to fill out. And we will also be collecting feedback via email or along any of our events, and we will be trying to host some sort of maybe table or something outside where we can collect this feedback as well too, maybe on a Saturday at the 14th and U Farmers Market, just because we really want to get that feedback and that engagement. And if you have other things you would like to see on our meetings, even virtually, please let us know. We are open to that because these meetings are for the community. The next item on admin is ANC 1B is hiring. So we're still hiring the marketing and neighborhood engagement interns. I realize that we were supposed to get this on our website last month. We had a small hiccup in determining kind of the time frame for this, but we will be posting this on the website this weekend for anyone that is interested. And we will be trying to print these out as well too, and posting those in visible places to try to get any applicants. And we are hiring an admin. So as you all can see, even with the unfortunate departure of Commissioner Delaney, we do have the largest commission in DC. And so we do need help on kind of the admin side. So we will have that job posting on anc1b.org and posted in other places as well too. So stay tuned for that. And yes, I think Commissioner Farnan, did you?
Yeah, all are paid. So
all are
please.
paid. None. We do not operate that way. I would protest if we did. But all are paid, and we will be posting those paying levels on the job description too.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Harris.
I don't see any questions, so we're good.
Yeah, if anyone has a question from the attendees, please put them in the Q&A. I mentioned that earlier, but it's bears repeating. So not seeing any, we will move on to our council member, commissioner, and community announcements. We'll start with Anthony Moore from the mayor's office. We need to promote Anthony.
I saw Anthony on earlier, but I'm not sure if he was able to stay on. But
No.
I know, but
I don't see him in the attendees at the moment. So we will instead we'll move on to the Office of Council Member Nadeau. I believe we have Ali Bobak.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? So I think I've met almost everybody by now, but in case I haven't, my name's Ali. I'm the Deputy Director for Constituent Services for Councilmember Nadeau. Usually work with my colleague Oscar, but he is out taking a much needed rest for a couple weeks. So all constituent services this week and next week, if you do have any, will come to me. My email is abobak@dccouncil.us, abobak@dccouncil.us, and my number is 202-531-5186. And I'm also newly an ANC 1B resident, so excited to tell you all that as well. It's been a very, very busy summer for the council. We just passed the final budget on Tuesday, so do expect Ward 1 highlights to be coming from Councilmember Nadeau. If you want to get those emails, you can sign up at brianneknadeau.com, and I'll let those announcements go through the email, but I think that's kind of the main announcement I have, that the budget has been passed. Council's now in recess. And the one other thing I did want to highlight is Stay DC. We have about a month or a couple more weeks to get that money out. It's $350 million. And if you do want to check on the progress of that, Councilmember Nadeau, as the chair of the Committee on Human Services, has requested that the Department of Human Services gives her an update on Stay DC rent and utility assistance every 2 weeks, which we also post on brianneknadeau.com. So if you're kind of interested in the progress of how well that money is going out, you can always check that on her website. And I'm here for any questions beyond that.
Hey, Ali, I have a real quick question regarding Stay DC. Do you know if the application has to be submitted within the next couple of weeks, or is that the amount of time before funds will be allocated?
I do not know, but I will find out for you and email you.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful. Thanks so much.
just as a note for the minutes, sorry, Commissioner Banda, in response to that, Commissioner Ewert, the application needs to be submitted for avoiding eviction trial. So no eviction notice. An eviction notice can be served, but no trial can be held if an application is pending. But the disbursement of funds will depend on the executive order that comes down. And of course, that is still in flux as there was an extension that just happened.
There you go. Thanks, Commissioner.
I had a quick question about Stay DC as well. I know that the Office of the Attorney General is doing some different workshops, and I'll put that link in the chat as well, but is Councilmember Nadeau, unfortunately the OAG's office isn't doing one in Ward 1. Do you know, is your office going to do some help sessions, or is there another partner in Ward 1 that would be good for us to refer 1B people to?
Yeah, so at stay.dc.gov, they do have an events tab now, and that's constantly being updated. I think I looked yesterday, and I believe that Greater Washington Urban League had posted that they're constantly, and if you pass them up on 14th and Columbia, they actually have been tabling pretty often outside. We also can make connections if there's a specific building you have in mind that you would like Stay DC to reach out to maybe coordinate something. I'm happy to try to make that connection for you. We have a contact there that we can reach out about that. So
great, thank you. I'll follow up with you on that.
On Stay DC, so I noticed today there were two kind of tables, one for Spanish language and another for, I think, general outside the Reeves Center. And looking on stay.dc.gov, they will be out there tomorrow as well too. So right out at 14th and U outside of the Reeves Center. It says from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I believe they were out there today from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And I did encourage them to reach out to commissioners to let us know when these events are happening. So they have my contact info. It's good to know about this site. And I believe they publish it, well, they have it pretty far out, but they are updating it, I think, weekly. But I think, Allie, we'd also appreciate if there are any other events that are happening within 1B that we can direct our constituents to.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bobak. Appreciate you stopping by to fill us in. I didn't mean to cut you off if you had anything else, but
no, just thank you.
okay. All right, great. Again, thank you for being here. Commissioners, does anyone else have any announcements? I just have one quick one that I wanted to just remind everyone that the mayor reinstituted the indoor mask mandate. So make sure that if you're going inside to a restaurant or something like that, that you make sure you're wearing your mask. Also, if you happen to go to the Nats game, if you're outside of the Nats game, you can take your mask off. If you're inside, you have to put it on. Same thing goes for the other sports events and stadiums. Does anyone else have an announcement they'd like to make? Commissioner Harris.
Yes. I am hosting a community cleanup on Sunday at 10 a.m. and we are meeting at 13th and V, and we will be traveling around 1B12 and I'm sure the other kind of bordering districts for a much needed cleanup. I think someone is coming out to help trim some of the overgrown grass because I have submitted many requests to DGS to come out and trim, but it doesn't look like they will be doing that until September 2nd. So we will be doing it ourselves. But I will post the link for the signups, but I do have some gloves, some trash grabbers, and bags for everyone to use. So if you can make it, I would love to see you there.
You said 10 a.m.?
Yes, 10 a.m. at 13th and V.
Does anyone else have anything they'd like to announce? Okay, so then last but not least, community announcements. Does anybody from the audience have anything they'd like to add or is there something they'd like to say? Please raise your hand. Use a little hand raise button at the bottom. Okay, not seeing any. With that, we'll go on to new business. Oh, Commissioner Harris, you still have your hand up. Did you have something you wanted to say, or is that excellent? Okay, now it's done. Move on to new business. Commissioners, does anyone have any new business they'd like to address? All right, well, not seeing any, that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you all for attending, and that I will then officially close out the August meeting of ANC 1B. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everyone. Great work, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, Dan.
Bye. See you all soon.
Bye.
Thanks, Danny. We'll
See you,
miss
Danny. We're gonna miss
Thanks,
you, man.
Danny.
Thanks, guys. See you.